Welcome back to Temporal Directive, the Star Trek fan podcast, rewatching the entire franchise in chronological order. I'm Gary.
And I'm Tom.
And this week, we're watching Star Trek Enterprise's Vanishing Point. Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the podcasts of the Wakefield brothers. Their 16-year mission to watch every production, to seek out life lessons and new inspirations, to boldly watch like most fans have watched before. How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty good. Busy. I've been pretty flat out because of all the Easter holidays, so all the people have been coming in to get their glasses and shit. So it's been flat out. So that's been fun.
Nice. I've been real lazy.
Have you?
Well, Easter holidays,
Yeah, you've had some breaks and stuff.
Had a few days off.
Yeah, right.
Went to the movie, saw Drop.
I have no idea what that is.
It's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not sure you'd like it, but it's okay.
Is it a horror thing?
Yeah, kind of. It was like a thriller. Do you really want to hear? I just told you it was mediocre.
It's no Scream, so.
It's definitely no Scream. This woman goes on a first date and someone starts dropping threatening memes into her phone.
Yeah.
And they're obviously in the restaurant, so she's trying to figure it out. They're making her do things. She's not allowed to tell anyone or leave or whatever.
Because what, her dog's going to die or something?
No, her kid at home.
Oh. So they're in the restaurant, but
they
they're
have
also
someone at the house on the security
Of
cameras.
course, yeah.
I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was good up to a point, and then it was just okay.
Most of those movies where they've got someone controlling them, that's how it works.
Yeah.
You know, because then they grow some balls at some point, and then it all turns to shit.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
Good performances, but
Yeah.
the movie was just average.
Yeah.
I'm more excited to go see Sinners, but I just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Yeah, okay.
But hopefully this afternoon, once we're done.
Right.
So don't dribble too much shit today, Tom.
Good luck with that.
The amount of shit I have to edit out because you just dribble.
In episode 5, why did that panel do that?
Oh, dear. No announcements or anything this week, but I am very jealous of everyone who's going to Universal Studios for their FanFest nights at the moment with the Star Trek experience thing they've got going on.
Yeah, fuck them.
Also, Back to the Future.
Yeah, I know. It looks freaking amazing.
I know.
We don't get anything in Tassie. In Australia, I should say.
Rarely.
Yeah.
I remember before COVID, there was a convention planned with William Shatner coming, and I bought the gold pass so that I could do the meet. So I got the meet and the photo, and I got the autograph set of like the big expensive package.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and he had to cancel, and he will probably never come back because he's too old now.
Yeah, we were both doing that. You and me were doing that together.
Were we?
Yeah. We both had bought the tickets together.
Devastating.
Yeah, it was freaking shocking because we were planning on going to Melbourne, having a good time, and doing that. That would have been freaking awesome. But then, that COVID,
bloody COVID.
Fucking hell. And you're right, he'll be dead. He won't come back.
I mean, he did go to space recently, so he could make it to Australia, I guess. It's not as far as space.
True, but it's also not the same kind of thing. Oh, geez, space or Australia?
Yeah, well, I mean, good point. All right, let's get into this week's episode. The episode is called Vanishing Point, written by Rick Berman and Braden Braga, directed by David Stratton, air date November 27th, 2002. IMDb synopsis reads, are you ready?
I'm sure it's going to be riveting.
It's really in depth. It's one sentence.
Surprise, surprise.
After Hoshi uses the transporter to avoid running into a storm, she starts to feel very strange.
Oh, a transporter accident.
What a shock. We haven't seen those before.
Didn't think that happened.
Yeah. So, transporter.
Surely they're going to be a lot more panicked in the first early days, right?
Well, you would think so.
Yeah.
It depends on what the issue is.
True, I suppose.
Like, is it a duplicate like William Riker? Is it the mirror universe like Mirror Mirror? Is it bugs in the matter stream like Lieutenant Barclay in Next Gen? Whatever episode that was. Was it Realm of Fear, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It's obviously not a 2Vix because it only has Hoshi in it.
That's it. That's it.
Or the next phase with Ro and Geordie, where they thought they were dead and they were ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you think any more?
When they materialized inside out in the motion picture. Or Scotty getting stuck in the transporter for 75 years.
Yeah. That was the one I was thinking of.
I can't think of any more. I'm sure there is more.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty common
trait.
Yeah.
Yet you still don't agree that you shouldn't be using transporters.
Use them.
Yeah. Sure.
Use them. If we had transporters right now, we could beam to FanFest night at Universal. Are you telling me you wouldn't beam to LA right now?
It wouldn't be me. I'd be dead.
I'm not having this conversation with you again. So shut the fuck up and let's go watch the episode. And we're back from watching Vanishing Point. Well, Tom, first thoughts?
Well, it wasn't as bad as some of the others, but it wasn't fantastic.
I thought this episode was a yawn fest. I didn't like this episode.
Yeah.
I thought it was boring.
Well, I mean, it wasn't as bad as some of the others that we've had.
I think it's just another transporter accident episode. It was very much like the next phase.
Yeah.
One of the first things that happens is you hear Trip or someone talking about the matter stream or something.
Yeah.
So that you, as an audience member, if you are switched on enough and are paying attention, know pretty early on that she's just stuck in the matter stream.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the episode is just pointless.
Yeah.
So the episode was
pointless.
And you could say that maybe it was about Hoshi facing her fears and overcoming them. But then at the end, in the sick bay, she's like, I'm not going to get on another transporter again. I'm going to stick to shuttlecraft.
Yeah.
So she didn't learn anything.
No, that's exactly right. Not even at all. Even though the captain was kind of like, you did.
Yeah.
No.
The captain pointed it out. It was like, but you overcome your fears and you jumped on the alien transporter pad. She's like, I'm still going to use a shuttle pod because, ew.
Yeah.
So she learnt nothing.
No.
She learnt nothing. The audience learnt nothing. That nothing happened. It was a nothing episode. I wish this episode would vanish.
Nice.
Thanks. Now, you mentioned about falling through the floor.
Yes.
Now, I found an interesting theory on this online.
All right, I've got one for this episode, but you go.
Gravity plating. The gravity plating on the floor interferes with phase shifting. It has to do with the low-level electromagnetic field that creates the gravity on the ship, which interferes with the phase shifting, which means they can't fall through. Gravity.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Fine. Yeah.
Thanks, random person who wrote that.
Thanks, sci-fi gobbledygook guy. That's great.
Works for me.
Yeah.
I'm taking it on.
Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad.
Yep.
Because
just try to remember that when we get to next gen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the gravity plating would be and is throughout the ship in every room because they can alter every room's gravity fluctuations. So,
that's right.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Clever thinking, person.
All right.
Also, in this episode, she was dreaming, so
So it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter at all.
No,
She
it didn't matter.
just wasn't falling through the floor because she didn't think she was.
Yep. All right. Let's get through this quickly.
Everybody could feel Gary's excitement on this episode. Is this what I sound like?
Yes.
God, I suck.
All right. We open on the planet's surface, and Hoshi and Trip are in some caves, and Trip is taking photos of the carvings and images and shit on the walls.
Yeah.
And Hoshi says that the shit in here is older than the shit in the last shitter.
Oh, that was great. Yes, that's what happens.
So they're talking about the pictures and trying to make sense of it, and
There's no bio signs on the planet.
yeah, they mentioned
Even
that.
though there's the history of something, obviously.
And then they get called from Enterprise, and Archer says that there's a storm coming, that you've got 5 minutes basically to wrap up and get back to the shuttlecraft and take off, or you're going to be in some trouble.
And then he hangs up, and then they get told instantly by...
Actually, yes.
Yeah, that there's a second one coming
Yeah.
that's bigger than the first, that's
Yeah.
pushing the first one faster. Now, wouldn't you think that saying that while they're already talking on the communicator would have been a smarter idea?
Yep.
Like,
And
I'm
how
sorry
quickly
to
did that
interrupt.
second storm
Yeah.
materialize? Did it come out of nowhere?
Yeah, like you only just
Didn't-
saw it coming.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
It's like, come on.
Yeah. So they call back.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, why didn't you just interrupt the fucking captain?
Mhm.
Why didn't you just say, sorry, captain, but you might want to tell them to move their fucking asses right now?
Yeah. Correct. But they didn't. So they call back and they say, actually, it's worse. You're fucked.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Nice knowing you. See you
Hershey
later.
says, we can hang out in the caves. We'll be right. Archer's like, nah, not going to work. It's
Nah.
some
I
polaric.
like how they answer all our questions as an audience member.
Because
before
that's what we were
argue.
saying, yeah.
Because it's like, you just stay in the caves. The caves have been there forever. You can just stay in the caves. They're going to be safe, obviously. Like,
Which is exactly what Hoshi says.
Yeah, Hoshi was the same. They've been here for 400 years or more. Like,
Yep.
just stay here. And here the captain's like, no.
Nope. Not going to happen. We're going to beam you up. And they have to do it one at a time because the transporter's all new and fancy and you can only have one person at a time.
Yeah.
And Hoshi's scared because the transporter is new
Yeah. And it's Hoshi.
and Hoshi's scared of everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, the storms look pretty bad. There's like...
Twisters. And
You're going to go
lightning.
further than Oz, I reckon. Hoshi demands that Trip goes first to make sure that the transporter is safe. Once he's on board and says that he's okay, then she'll beam up. So that's exactly what happens after they have a bit of an argument about it. And then she beams up. Once she rematerializes, Reed says, welcome to the club, because he's one of the other few people that have actually used the transporter. And Trip says, how do those molecules feel? All in the right place? And she says, I'll let you know. And then we skip the credits.
Of course. And then you were a bit slow on that, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, coffee.
Had me panicking.
And we come back to Hoshi's quarters, and she's washing her face and examining it very closely. She is looking at every fucking pore on her face.
And the mole that's
Birthmark.
Birthmark thing on her nose.
The doorbell rings. It's Captain Archer, and he's checking in and saying that take the afternoon off and have some rest, and we'll see you in the morning. Maybe you and Trip will want to finish your job tomorrow on the surface.
Yeah.
And she says, no. No. He's like, you can take the shuttle pod down, but you got to get the other shuttle pod back from the surface.
Yeah.
She's like, no, someone else can do that.
Yeah.
No. Nope. Nope.
Not happening.
Nope.
So this is where, as a boss or a captain, you'd be like,
That
pretty
wasn't
sure
a
I was
question.
fucking telling you. I was being polite about it, but then I am the fucking captain, right?
Yeah. Oh, easy though.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. more interested in making friends than actually doing
Ooh.
fraternizing with the crew. That's what he says, isn't it?
Yep. Anyway, he fucks off. She goes back to looking at her face in the mirror. We cut to the mess hall. Malcolm, Travis, and Trip are all having a laugh about something, and they're all making jokes and laughing and talking. Hoshi comes over with her tray of food, and she's trying to get their attention, but they're too busy talking and laughing amongst themselves that they don't really notice her. But she seems very put out by it.
Yeah.
And then eventually they see her, and she says, "Is anyone sitting here?" "No, please." And she sits down to eat. She's talking about how she just found the transporter so unsettling. "Didn't you find it so unsettling?" And Trip's like, "Oh, for a minute or two, but I got over it."
Yeah, like, of course it's a little unsettling. It was completely fucking new. Like, it would be a weird thing to go through.
And then he deflects and says it was probably the storm. Like, you don't forget things like that too quickly. Like, it deflects the problem to the storm being the problem.
Yeah.
And she says, no, it was the transporter. I just don't feel like myself since I went through it. And then they tell her about the urban legend of Cyrus Ramsey.
Yeah.
And she has never heard the story of Cyrus Ramsey. And they say that he was the first test subject for the long-range transporter, 100 meters long range.
Yeah. Sure.
And that something went wrong in the pattern buffer and he never rematerialized. And now he haunts. He rematerializes at campfires. And
in the fogs and stuff.
Yeah. So he's a ghost story.
Yeah. It's not a bad one, really, if you think about it.
No, it's pretty good.
Clever,
Yeah.
Just rematerializes randomly around the world.
Yeah. It's a good little ghost story. With a hook for his hand.
Stands at the end of your bed.
Although, if he's a Ramsey, maybe he just cooks for you. Maybe he just materializes at the campfire and says, "That's not a s'more. This is a s'more." Oh, dear. Anyway, the boys go back to talking about other stuff, and they talk about where they did their survival training. And Australia gets a mention. Yay! Trip says that the captain and him were in the same group, and they did Alice Springs in Australia.
Yeah.
While they're sitting at the table, Archer calls Trip and says that the storms are breaking up and maybe we should get down there or whatever. And he says, "I was just telling Travis about it. Travis would like to see the ruins." Archer says, "Well, I don't think Hoshi's going to go, so..."
Yeah.
Trip says, "I'll need another pilot to bring the other pod back." Archer says, "Travis it is then."
Yep. Nice and easy.
And all the boys get up and go and leave Hoshi sitting there by herself.
Yeah.
Oh, probably because she's a fucking Debbie Downer.
Yeah, that's it. Certainly wasn't any fun. Yeah.
Sorry, Hoshi, but fuck.
Bye.
We cut to sick bay. Hoshi comes in. She's trying to find the doctor. She looks behind a couple of things and whatever, and then suddenly he's behind her. He comes out of a room she already checked.
Yep.
And he says, "Is there something I can do for you?" And she says, "I just looked in there. Were you in there? Didn't you hear me come in?" He's like, "I was feeding my leeches. What's up?"
Yeah.
"You didn't hear me." "I'm right here, Ensign."
Yeah.
"Are you not well?"
Yeah. What's wrong?
"What is wrong with you? You being crazy."
Hello.
She says, "No, I'm not feeling well. I dematerialized and then I rematerialized, and no, I'm not feeling well." And he, just like Trip before him, deflects back to the storms. "Those storms sound terrifying." They didn't look that bad.
No, they didn't. They were way off.
Way off in the distance.
Yeah.
And very shitty CG.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Not very intimidating.
That's all right. It did look realer in The Wizard of Oz 100 years ago.
It did. She says she's not talking about the storms. She's talking about her molecules. So he says, "All right, I'll sit down. Let me have a look," and scans her. He says that she appears to be in one piece. "I don't think you're in danger of becoming the next Cyrus Ramsey." She talks about a birthmark on her nose moving a little bit. She says it was at least a centimetre lower on her face. He says, well, it looks lovely where it is now, and then sort of giggles, and she gets mad because it's not a joke, Doctor.
Yeah, because if it could
If the machine could move a birthmark, who knows what else it could do? I'm telling you, I don't feel right.
She got very masculine all of a sudden.
And he says, I have a lot of animals to feed. How about you go get a good night's sleep? Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So we cut to Hoshi's quarters. She's in bed, and the comm on her bedside table goes off. And it's T'Pol, who says, you're needed on the bridge, Ensign. And she says, what time is it? 1100 hours. There's been an emergency. Hoshi says, 1100 hours? That's impossible. My shift starts at 0800. Okay.
Yeah. Like, that's
Yeah,
a complete
that's-
impossibility. No
Yeah.
one's ever slept through their alarms and
You're
kept going.
super late for work. Is
Yeah.
that
Is that just
Anyway.
not a thing?
stupid? We cut to the bridge. Hoshi arrives. She apologizes to the captain. She doesn't know what happened. Don't know why she slipped in. Archer says that Tripp and Mayweather have been taken hostage, that we haven't heard anything in the last hour. And she says, taken hostage by who? The people down there didn't like you disturbing their ruins. She says there were no biosigns. What are you talking about? And T'Pol says, the chambers you and Mr. Tucker photographed contain sacred relics. And she says, how could you possibly know that?
Couldn't. Absolutely couldn't.
No.
Not even remotely.
No. Correct. Anyway, they say that they're scanning. They still can't find the biosigns. They get hailed by one of the aliens, and Hoshi tries to use the universal translator to translate the language, and she needs more, so she gets the captain to talk some more. Doesn't happen. Then the alien goes on this big rant, and he's like, well, it's not going to get much better.
Yeah.
She's
That's
like, it's
pretty
still
good.
not working. So Reed says maybe you should forget the translator and just talk to them. So she tries that, and that doesn't work either. And so Archer kicks her out and says, maybe you should go back to your quarters and get some rest.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like you haven't had enough. Sleep it in.
Yeah. You're 3 hours late for work, and you've done nothing but whinge since you got back from the planet.
Yeah.
So how about you go and have a lie down?
Yeah, that's it. Because that's what you need.
She says she wants to stay at her post and not go back to her quarters, but he ignores her and tells this random other guy to go and take the comm, and then he and Reed leave the bridge. Hoshi walks out as well, and then we fade to commercial.
Yep.
We come back, and she's in her bathroom, and she starts to run the shower, and she looks in the mirror, and she starts to fade out a little, just for a second.
Yeah, as it's steaming up.
Yep. Then she gets in the shower and she looks at her hands and she starts to fade out again. She sees water go through her hands. And then we cut to the mess hall, because if you saw yourself fading, where's the first place you would go?
Go to eat, right?
You'd go to eat.
Yeah, that's
You wouldn't
right.
go back to the sick bay
Yeah.
and say, fuck,
yes.
water can go through my hands now.
Yeah. I am literally...
You would go to the mess hall to get something to eat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So when you're swallowing that mouthful of food, it falls all the way through you.
Exactly.
Like, that makes sense.
She's in the mess hall. She has a tray of food, and she goes over to Paul, who's sitting by herself reading a book. And she tries to get to Paul's attention, but she's engrossed in her book. And then eventually she looks up and she notices Hoshi and says, "Oh, Ensign, would you like to join me?"
Oh.
"Thank you. I would have thought you'd been on the bridge." "Why is that?"
Okay.
"Tucker, Travis, hostage." She's like, "The hostage situation was resolved. They're back on board." "It's only been an hour." "What happened?" "Well, that random crew member that replaced you
Yeah.
used the universal translator.
It was simple.
It was simple. We returned the shit we took, and they released hostages."
Yeah. That was it. Easy.
Done.
Hit a button and he done it.
Yep. And
If
now
you had done it, it would have been even quicker than an hour.
that's right. And now you're relieved of duty, and we're putting random guy in charge of communications.
Yeah, because he's much better than you.
Much better than you. Much, much better.
And he doesn't whine and bitch about every little thing.
So T'Pol gets up and walks off,
Yep.
leaving Hoshi alone again. So we cut to in the corridor, and Hoshi is walking along, and she sees two people walking towards her who are deep in conversation about some engineering problem, looking at secondary couplings and shit. And she walks past, and Hoshi says, "Allison." And Allison ignores her because she's in the middle of a fucking conversation with someone else and doesn't want to be interrupted.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
She got blanked.
Ghosted. Hey. See what I did there?
Yeah.
So she gets into the turbo lift and she hears some voices in her head. The stream's too unstable. Come on, Hershey, what? You can do it, and it's easy as 1, 2.
Fucking hell.
That's what they sound like in my head.
Yeah. It was identical. It was dead ringer.
Yeah, that sounds like Chip, doesn't it? Come on, Hershey. We cut to sick bay, and she walks in, and she asks Phlox if he can see her. And he just looks at her like she's a fucking idiot. Is there something in particular you'd like me to look at?
Yeah, that's it.
And then she goes on this rant about
With the
everything that's
water and
happened.
People not seeing that, blah, blah, blah.
Yep,
People blanking out the buttons don't work in the elevator.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, fuck, I called it an elevator. Is it an elevator in this one? I'm doing you. You suck.
You said before when they were on the planet that why didn't they interrupt before they hung up?
You're rubbing off on me. I don't like it. I'm not even realising it.
While she's ranting, she's talking about fading in and out and water going through her and nobody wants to talk to me. Paranoid delusional is how I would classify that.
Yeah. Yes. A sedative is a good idea. Which is
Well, that's exactly what he offers because he says, well, I can see you. The sickbay door's open when you press the button.
Yeah.
It's normal to be scared of new technology, so whatever.
Yeah.
So he offers her the sedative. She says no. And he says, we'll come back first thing in the morning. She says that she will.
Yeah.
Then we cut to the gym. Trip is in some big fucking...
There is a name for it. They were popular back in the 90s.
Were they?
Yeah. Gyro something.
It's a big, globy,
thing.
spinny...
You strap yourself in and let it spin around. They had them at fairs and stuff when we were young, but you could get them for private use as well. But they were popular back in the
I'll take your word for it.
Late 90s.
I'll take your word for it. But anyway, apparently that's a workout, so he was doing that. She comes in and they have a conversation about her, again, being crazy. And she says, even the doctor says that my symptoms are psychological.
Yeah.
And he says it's just going to take a while for people to get used to being taken apart and put back together again.
Yeah.
Seems normal to be anxious about it. And then after they talk for a bit and he's kind of supportive of her, he leaves and then Hoshi suddenly can't use anything. She can't press the buttons. She tries to lift a weight and her hand goes through it and she goes to leave but the door won't open. She can't press the button, open the door. Then she runs to the mirror and she stares at her reflection as it fades to nothing and we cut to commercial.
Yep.
We come back and some time has passed and Hoshi has been sleeping on the gym floor. T'Pol and Trip walk in and she says, oh, thank God you're here. Oh, I remember that show.
Yeah, I've got a new series of that, actually.
I've been stuck in here for hours. The door control was... And then she gets cut off because Trip and T'Pol can't see or hear her.
Yep.
So she's trying to get their attention, but they just keep saying, well, she was here last night. This was the last place we saw her, blah, blah, blah.
That's pretty much it. It sums it up.
Trip says he's going to try adjusting the biosensors, and Archer asks T'Pol over the comm to meet him in sickbay. So they leave, and Hoshi follows. We cut to sick bay. Phlox is talking to Archer and to Paul about his conversation with Hoshi the night before, saying that she was feeling shaky.
And that he thought it was all psychological because she was transported and she was having a reaction to the transporter and
Yep.
blah, blah, blah.
As the camera pans, we see Hoshi like sitting up on the console.
Knees
Clearly
up.
she can sit on a chair.
Yeah, and a desk. That doesn't have any gravity plating on it.
Nope. There goes that.
Yeah. Gone. Except for that it's a dream, so
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
no, so it doesn't count in this.
None of this matters because none of it actually happened.
Yeah.
We could have skipped this episode because it's not actually part of the chronology. We could have just watched the opening scene and the last scene and been done.
But it'll be interesting if I ever hear what was it? Cypress?
Cyrus Ramsey.
Cyrus Ramsey. If Cyrus Ramsey ever comes up in anything ever again throughout Star Trek, it is completely inaccurate because it was completely made up in her mind.
Correct. Unless
She heard it and it was
she
subconscious.
started telling people that as a ghost story,
Yeah.
and she shared it with her kids and then her kids' kids, and then it became an urban legend. It's got to start somewhere. Just saying.
Get me on
Anyway.
technicality.
Anyway.
Fucker.
Phlox has some evidence to show that her protein filaments were degrading and she was actually coming apart.
And was this where they said cellular peptides?
No.
Oh, damn.
And no one said cellular peptides. They said dipeptides.
Oh. Damn.
We cut to the transporter alcove area and Troop is doing some diagnostics and he says it's the secondary phase coils, that they're not aligned, they're not perfectly synchronized, and it must have happened right after he came up from the surface, and that would have caused the dissipation that had happened to Hoshi. And Phlox basically says that you wouldn't be looking for a body now, it would be cellular residue.
Yeah. Yep. And this is why they have like multiple backups now in the future. Like
Yes.
a lot of backups. Because I'm pretty sure O'Brien says we have like 4 redundant backup systems.
Probably.
So, yeah.
Makes sense. I'd want to have a few backups if I was going to go through the transporter.
Yeah, that's it.
Fucking hell. They decide that they're going to recalibrate the sensors to try to find the residue, and Archer's ready to go. He's like, break orbit, let's go. We're done. We cut to the Jeffries tubes, which is a big fucking Jeffries
It
tube,
is,
right?
isn't
There's no crawling here. There's a bit of hunching, but
Yeah.
no crawling like in the later ships.
Yeah. Did they call it a Jeffries tubes?
Well, it says Jeffries tubes in my transcript,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to use that.
Yeah. That's clearly what it is. Big ass one, like you
So-
say.
And Phlox is scanning, and they're trying to find the residue, and they find a little pile of goo.
Pile was a drop of
It
green.
was- yeah, it was a couple of
Green
drops.
jelly that someone was eating in there for their lunch the day before.
Yeah. Hoshi's following them as well. So
Yeah.
Hoshi's in the background while they have this conversation about why would she be down here? And then Phlox gets a little bit of the goop off the floor with a
Yeah.
fucking like blood test strip from a
Yeah. From a yeah.
whatever, and puts it in an envelope and says, I'm sure Hoshi's parents would want to have this. What? Why the fuck would they want a drop of goo in an envelope?
Yeah, let's have a drop of
And
goo.
why are you putting it in an envelope?
in an envelope.
Are you going to send it?
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be all sucked up into the
there
paper of the envelope anyway.
A Federation postal service I don't know about? Can I send postcards from Riser? Like, what the fuck? It's just so bizarre. Anyway, he collects it, puts it
Yeah.
in the envelope.
Yep.
And then they go to leave, and Trip says, you go ahead, Doc. I am going to stick around for a minute. And then he has a bit of a whinge to himself where he's like, I should have made you go first. And just when you think he was feeling bad about what he did, he victim blames and says, now look what you've done.
Yeah.
I told you you'd be safe. You wouldn't listen
Yeah.
to me. It's your fault.
Yeah, flips it completely.
Victim blaming.
Now look what you've done.
Ridiculous.
Fuck.
Anyway, he gets up and leaves. Hoshi's still there, and she hears like something. She hears some either
Shattering
talking or movement or
movements.
something.
Yeah.
So she goes to investigate that sound, and she sees a weird-looking alien dude putting some devices onto the bulkheads and talking to a second alien dude who shows up to do the same.
Yep.
And we cut to commercial. We cut to the ready room. Archer is pacing a little bit, and Hoshi rushes through the door, the closed door, because she's a ghost.
Yeah. Essentially.
And she says, "Captain, I need you to listen to me. There's aliens on board from the surface. They're planting bombs."
And like, why would
What
you
are you-
even
what
bother?
are you doing?
Like, why? Absolutely ridiculous to even attempt it.
Yep. But anyway, I guess she didn't know what else to do, so that's what she did. The comm chimes. The guy who replaced Hoshi at the comm said that we've located her father. The mother isn't home. And Archer proceeds to have the worst conversation
fucking
notifying
painful.
someone of their child's death.
Oh, it was so bad.
He just could not get to the point.
No, like you would start off straight away with the plane of, like, I'm sorry to inform you that your daughter has passed, right?
Exactly.
Like, that is
Well,
the
he
very
said-
first thing you would say.
We've had an accident with our transporting device, is what he says.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
That's fine.
So-
And then he says, her father says, transporting device, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, then he starts to explain it.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
what I'm ringing to tell you is there was an accident.
Yes, that's exactly exactly. That is exactly right. Doesn't fucking matter.
So he goes on this whole big rant of talking about how the transporters were approved. Starfleet told us it was safe. It was approved for biomatter. All this big, long, convoluted thing.
Yeah.
Eventually, he does spit it out.
Yeah.
And Hoshi's dad just says, "Can you call me back later? I need to tell her mum, and we'll talk again this afternoon."
Well, I need to process that whole fucking conversation I just
Yes.
had with you.
Let me work out what a transporter is again.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole time that's happening, Ghost Hoshi is trying to get Archer's attention somehow by putting her hands through the screens or whatever. And she started to flick the lights in a plasma conduit in the room to try to get Archer's attention. And she's using Morse code to send an SOS with the lights.
Now, just on the message that the captain was saying about the daughter being dead, do you reckon this is Hoshi's mind? Because it was her mind, like,
Yes.
all made up. She knows that he's a useless fucking captain.
Well, she must.
Because she imagined that conversation with her dad. So she has
That's
no
true.
fucking trust at all in the captain's ability to actually deal with people.
That's actually very
Right.
true.
So she just has no faith.
Yeah.
So she knows he's fucking useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in her imagination,
Yeah.
he's useless.
Yeah. So even in her imagination, she can't picture him being good.
So then he notices the lights. He presses the comm and asks Paul to come in. And he says, "Look at this. I've never heard it make that noise before." And she says, "The plasma circuit's being interrupted. I'll ask Commander Tucker to take a look." And he says, "No, there's a pattern. It's an SOS. Bum, bum, bum." He says it's Morse code. It's been used on Earth for centuries. And then Hoshi tries to change it to spell out her name. T'Pol says the plasma circuit is self-contained. No one outside this room could be using it to send a message. Perhaps you should get some rest. And he says, "You're right.
Yeah. Sure.
I'll have Tripper take a look tomorrow." That's it.
Yeah. Like, again, Hoshi knows he's useless.
Yeah, kind of.
Right? Like, she knows there's no fucking point.
Even if you send an SOS
Yeah.
and he recognizes it,
Yeah.
and then you spell out your name in Morse code, he's still not going to do shit.
He's not going to do shit.
'cause he's too dumb.
He's too dumb. He's too fucking useless. Like,
He's just going to go have a nap instead.
yeah. He's like, nah, can't be fucked. Like, no. Someone said I could be wrong, so yeah,
I
could be.
already had to have a difficult conversation today. I'm going to need a nap.
That's it. That's it. It's too hard to bother tracking that down. Fuck it.
One problem a day, please. Captain's prerogative.
She's not wrong.
But Hoshi's freaking out because they're going to blow up the ship. we cut to the aliens. They're finished planting their devices throughout the Jeffries tubes, and now they're starting to arm them. Hoshi follows them as they go around the ship, especially in engineering. They put a bomb up on the warp core. There's someone at the warp core, but they're above it, so they can't see it. And Hoshi's in a ventilation grill because I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
But she is. Then we cut back to the Jeffries tube. The alien's back is to us. Hoshi puts her hand through one of the bomb things and manages to switch it off. And then all of the other devices disarm. So that was the linking one.
Yep.
Another alien comes in, replaces that with a new one. And then Hoshi can't turn the new one off. So they decloak a transporter pad and beam off.
Yeah.
And she says, no, wait. And then she hears again the voices of
Tucker and Reed, yeah.
Yeah, Tucker and Reed going, the stream's too unstable. Come on, Hoshi, come on. You can do it. And she gets so excited that she jumps up on the alien transporter pad and beams onto the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Because it was all a dream.
Yep. All of it. Every part of it.
Yeah. So she rematerializes from the surface of the planet where the storm was, and they mention something to her, and she goes, you heard me? You can hear me? You can see me? Yep.
Yeah.
And she's like, we need to stop. They've put a bomb on the warp reactor. Who? The aliens from the surface. There's no one on the surface. What are you talking about? They kidnapped you and Travis. We've got to stop them. I got to add some
dramatic
excitement
effect
to the episode, right?
Well, there certainly wasn't any in the episode.
Reed says that there was some trouble reintegrating the matter stream, and she was trapped in the pattern buffer for a few seconds.
8.2 or 3, was it?
8.3 seconds to be precise.
Right.
Then she says, oh, I was sure I was going to be the next Cyrus Ramsey. And Trip says, Cyrus who? We cut to sickbay. Hoshi is being examined by Phlox, and Archer's in there as well. And Hoshi says, so you're saying all of that happened in 8 seconds?
More like 2 or 3.
Yeah, more like 1 or 2. The last 1 or 2 seconds as your meta stream was coalescing.
Yeah.
But Phlox says she seems fine and walks away. Archer says that Reed is recommending some new transport protocols to Starfleet, suggesting that they compress the transport beam. I assume that will make it a faster process.
Yeah.
And then she says, I don't want to use the transporter again for a long time.
Yeah.
And he says, but you said you stepped on the alien's transporter by choice. It sounds like you overcame your fear. She goes, I was trying to save Enterprise. It's all in my head. It doesn't matter. I'm not getting on a transporter. I'm going to stick to the shuttle pods from now on. And he says, all right, let's go to the bridge. And they go to walk out. And she says, stops him from hitting the button. And she says, Captain, if you don't mind. And he steps back and lets her press the button to open the door. The end. So, Tom, now that we talked through it, what do you think?
It's not fantastic, but it's not the worst one either.
I mean, it's pretty...
It's not great.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
It's not great, but it's not terrible. There's been some pretty shocking ones on here, but I mean, the premise has been overdone in Star Trek as it is, really. So nothing about it was surprising. Like, we can read it perfectly. Like, because we know it so well, there was no surprises. We knew what was happening. We knew instantly that she was just stuck in the beam, like, so that everything that was happening was pointless.
Yep.
All of that sort of shit. So there was no gravity to any of the situations or anything that was happening.
Nope.
And therefore it sort of took the what is it? The edge off it, I suppose, is probably the best way to say it.
It was a nothing episode.
Yeah. But
and like we said before, Hoshi didn't learn anything.
No, that's right.
If she had have come out of that and said, I'll beam fucking anywhere now, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's right. It would have been much better if she had have said, yeah, well, I sort of, learned that, what works.
You got to overcome your fears.
Yeah, you got to overcome it. You got to do what you got to do, and like what else can happen?
Which
so
I think is the life lesson here, right? The life lesson of the story is you need to overcome your fears and just embrace change and all those things.
Yeah,
but it didn't deliver it properly.
No,
It erased the
It
message
erased
at
it.
the end.
Right at the end. Like it done it and then took it away instantly.
Exactly.
It's like got her jumping on the transporter and then took it away.
Exactly. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we already sort of talked about the life lesson.
Yeah.
So let's talk about IMDb rating for this one. So our examples of 1 episodes are Voyager's Threshold and Next Gen's Code of Honor. Examples of 10 episodes are Next Gen's Tapestry and Deep Space Nine's Far Beyond the Stars. What do you want to rate Vanishing Point?
What have we given about a 5?
Let me see. Desert Crossing was a 5.
Which one was that?
That was the one with that terrorist guy that invited them down to the desert for dinner and then tried to get them to help fight the war and they got stuck.
Yeah, so
I think that was better than this.
Yeah, well, I would say that I'd say it's on par at least.
I'm more likely to go for like a 3, to be honest.
Right. Okay, so you want to meet
Like
in the middle?
3s were like Oasis, Minefield.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can meet in the middle and do a 4.
Yeah, that's about. I don't want to go much lower than that. So
All
I'm
right.
happy to go with a 4.
4 it is. Vanishing Point, you get a 4. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Thank God. If you want to tell us what you thought of Vanishing Point or Star Trek in general, please get in touch. You can find us on Facebook at Temporal Directive Podcast and on Instagram, just Temporal Directive, or you can email us at wakefield_productions@outlook.com. We'll be back next week with the episode Precious Cargo. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.